Welcome, family, and thank you for joining me this evening here at Sweet Bee's Honey House. We just received our Azure Standard order, so we have sweet peas. We are excited to put these sweet peas up. We enjoy using them as a side, and we even put them on salads from time to time. So this evening, we're going to do some pressure canning, and I'm going to show you how we preserve sweet peas.
Hey family. Okay, so thank you for joining me here in the kitchen. So as I had told you a few minutes ago, we just received our shipment of sweet peas, and these are one of our favorite side dishes. And let's see if I can get this up and show you and tilt it a little bit. Look at that. Isn't that fabulous? Oh, they're so yummy. So I went ahead and I washed them and went through them and made sure that we didn't have any trash or anything. They were pretty clean. I did take a few things out, but nothing major. This is 20 pounds, which is going to be enough to do an 18 pint in the pressure canner on the stove, as well as I'm going to do 8 in the electric pressure canner. So I'll put you on hold for a second. We went over the electric pressure canner in the past, but I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly how to set that up, because we're going to go ahead and get these jars heated up, and then while those are heating, I'm going to go ahead and prepare these jars. They've already been washed, they're ready to go. So all we need to do is now put the peas in here. Now I am going to use a salt. It's just a canning salt. It is not necessary for the preservation of the food. It is just a preference of our family. So I'm using pint jars today. And so since I'm using the pint jars, I'm just going to use a half a teaspoon of the salt in each one of my jars. And then, as I said, I've got these heated up. So these will be, we'll be bringing those over here a little bit later after we get these ready. Now, a few things that I've done to prepare for this. I've got my pressure canner on the stove. It's got the water in it. And you remember, you go back to your canning manual to see exactly how much water is needed in your canner. I've got water in this one. There is a fill line in this one. So I've got it filled up to the fill line. And I've got my jars in here. They're full of water. And it goes through a sterilization process beforehand. So we're just going to go ahead and let those jars heat up. And I've got water, if you can hear it, I've got water in the kettle. And that's heating up so that we can top off our jars whenever we're putting our peas in our jars. So I'm going to bring you back in just a minute so that you can see how we set up the electric pressure canner so it can start work, and then I'll bring you back over here so that we can continue to put the peas up. So I'll bring you back in just a minute.
So now it's time for us to add our peas to our jar. So we're going to start off with adding a canning salt. Now, not everybody is going to want to put salt in their food. This is my family's preference, so I go ahead and put a half a teaspoon to each one of my pint-sized jars. And now I am adding my sweet peas, and I'm using a 4 jars canning funnel, and this funnel has the measurement tool built in, so I can see as I'm filling up the food in the jar or the liquids exactly how much I am filling in those jars. So as I said, we are leaving a 1-inch headspace here. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that we put our hot liquid in there. And we're going to debubble our jar to make sure that we don't have any air pockets that are hiding around those peas. So we're going to go ahead and debubble our jar and make sure that we get all of those air bubbles out. And as soon as we have made sure that we have get as many of the air bubbles out as we possibly can, and now we're going to double check our measurements, because whenever you move it around, it does free up some space sometimes. And so now we're going to write down that realm. We're making sure that we have no residue there, as well as no imperfections in the glass. Now we're putting on our 4 jars canning our lid, as well as putting our ring on fingertip tight. Now that jar is ready to go into the canner, and it's time to start the next. Our next step is to add our jars to our hot water. Now this is boiling water that we've got in this pot, it's just as hot as the boiling water that we have put in the jars. So we want to make sure that we've got the same temperature both in the pot as well as what's going in the jars, because we don't want to shock our jars and put a cold jar into a hot environment or vice versa. So now that I've gotten these, you see there's a rack down on the bottom that I put these on. I'm putting the same style rack on top so that I can put another layer of sweet peas in here. Now this particular canner will allow me to can 18 pints at one time. So we're going to go ahead and add the second layer up here, and then we're going to go ahead and put our lid on after we do our safety checks. Now before we put our lid on, we went ahead and went through our safety checks, making sure that our vent was clear, making sure that our valves were safety valves were working properly, and we also made sure that we had a good seal on the inside of our pressure canner. So after we made sure those were intact like they should be, we put our lid on and we turned our temperature up so that we could start building up pressure. Now we will let this steam for 10 solid minutes before we add our pressure weight. So we went ahead and let it steam, and then we pulled the weight out, added it to it, and then we started watching for our temperature gauge to increase. Now remember, no matter what your elevation is, that depends on how many pounds of pressure that you have your pressure canner at. So you make sure that you check your elevation, and you're going to want to bring your pressure up for your particular area. Now once the pressure gets up to your area, you then set your timer. If the pressure goes below it, you need to start all over again. Once your 40 minutes is up, then you're wanting to turn your stove off and allow your pressure cooker to come back down to 0. When it comes back down to 0, then you can go ahead and remove the lid. Remembering to make sure that you are opening your canner away from you. Otherwise, you could result in a steam burn. So you're just going to want to head and twist your lid and then remove it as open it away from you so the steam will not touch you. Then after you do that, you're ready to start removing your jars and adding them to a cooling pad. Remember, we've got hot jars. We don't want to add those hot jars to a cold countertop. In addition to our pressure canner that we're using on the stove, tonight we're also going to use our Presto digital canner. Now the Presto digital canner will do both pressure can or water bath can. This being a low acid food, we're definitely going to be doing pressure can. So we'll move it back to the pressure can in just a moment, and then we're going to add that for 40 minutes because that is the tested recipe for sweet peas that you can get from the National Center for Home Food Preservation website. So we're going to add this on for 40 minutes. We're going to hit the go button, and we're going to go ahead and put our jars in so that they can be heating up. So we're going to go through the same process as we did with the canner on the stove. We're going to first fill our jars, and then we're going to add those to the pressure canner. They will can for 40 minutes. The difference between this and the one on the stove, the pressure canner on the stove brings it up to a certain pound of pressure. The instant or the digital pressure canner, it brings the temperature up to the specific temperature it needs to be. Now we have our jars in our digital pressure canner. So we're going to go ahead and we've got 8 pint jars here. Next, we're going to install the lid. All we have to do is line up the install and the remove line with the little knot here on the front side of the pressure canner. We're going to go ahead and turn that into the lock position. And then after we get that locked down, it's kind of hard to do with just one hand. After we get that in the lock position, then we're going to take our little green lever and we're going to push it down and lock it into place as well. Now, once we get that all locked into place, then we're going to move our regulator. Our regulator is currently set to can. We're going to move it over to vent because we're going to vent this just like we do the one on the stove, where it's going to vent for 10 minutes. It'll do that countdown. And so that will let us know that we're moving on to the next section. So we're going to go ahead and hit the go button on our canner here, so it'll start heating the inside of our canner so that it will start venting. And as soon as the 10-minute venting is done, it'll go into the canning mode. Our 40 minutes is nearly up. After it counts down, it will then go into a cool down mode, which it'll take 5 minutes to go through that cool down mode, and then we will be able to remove our jars from the digital canner. Our 40 minutes have now been completed. We have gone through our cool down stage, so now it's time for us to open up our pressure canner. So we're going to go through the same process as we did with the other. Going to unlock our little green lever, and then we're going to twist our lid from the locked stage to the install and remove stage, and making sure that when we lift our canning lid that we are lifting that away from us to prevent us from getting a steam burn. So we'll go ahead and set that to the side and start removing our beautiful sweet peas from the digital canner. Family, just look at these beautiful sweet peas that we have put up together this evening. This is a wonderful quality food that we will be able to put up on our pantry shelves. We used organic peas with water and just a little bit of salt. And remember, that salt is optional. That's just my family's preference, but you don't have to add that. So we have done another wonderful food preservation this evening. Thank you so much for joining me here at Sweet Bee's Honey House.